Hey everybody, Robert Hurd, General Manager here at Porsche Center Kelowna. Thanks for joining us again. Today I'm very excited to have Scott Hargrove joining me. Scott's a very accomplished race car driver, Porsche driver specifically, so we're really excited about the conversation and the stories today. Thanks for joining me, Scott. I really appreciate you taking the time and coming in. Been very much looking forward to this conversation. So again, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Appreciate you having me here.
I always like to start every podcast off with, what is your first memory of Porsche?
So mine's probably a little later in life than most. Growing up, I was always watching Formula One and IndyCar and that kind of thing. And then it wasn't until later on when I got the opportunity to actually race a Porsche GT3 Cup car for the first time that was really what steered me towards the brand. And it was literally like from 0 to 100 in terms of like my Porsche involvement. I got to do that first GT3 Cup race back in 2014, and ever since then I've been a Porsche guy.
Just been hooked.
Absolutely.
So how did you get into the racing scene? I do know that you started in karting. Kind of what age did that happen, and what brought you into the racing scene?
For sure. So as I mentioned, always grew up watching racing. My dad and still is a massive motorsports fan, so it was always F1 in the mornings, IndyCar, you name it. And then I wanted to start getting into racing myself, so my dad got me a go-kart. Like most kids that get into racing go through that path. So I was 13 years old when we finally convinced my dad to get me a go-kart. and then just started racing down in the Vancouver area, so the track in Chilliwack. Just got my start there, and then started moving around the Pacific Northwest, and then just by a couple years into it, I was already progressing up into cars. So I was 15 years old when I was racing a Formula car for the first time.
15 years old, you got into and that's the open wheel racing kind of start of it at 15 years old.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. It's an incredible jump. And at 15, where did it start? What were your kind of the beginnings of the open wheel racing?
Yeah, so I started in Skip Barber Racing School, which is pretty typical for guys trying to get out of karting into cars, and then progressed from there into what they call the Road to Indy. So that comprises of 3 levels. There's USF 2000, Pro Mazda. Well, this is back when I was racing. It's all renamed now, but back then it was USF 2000, Pro Mazda, Indy Lights, and then IndyCar. So I got into the USF 2000 level. I actually won that championship, which then paid for my next season of racing in Pro Mazda. And then that year, so this was 2014, I was racing in Pro Mazda, and at the same time I was racing the Porsche GT3 Cup. And I almost won that championship, but a transmission failure in the last race of the year took that one away from me, which then didn't give me the scholarship to race into Indy Lights. And
okay.
Yeah, and so what was nice though is I had this opportunity to race Porsche GT3 Cup cars that same year. So I was racing both championships. There were no conflicts in the schedule, which is super rare. That was nice to be able to run the 2 championships, and then I ended up winning the Canadian GT3 Cup championship. So that sort of like, the past started to diverge at that point, and the open wheel side of things kind of went away, and then the full focus went into sports car racing.
So you started the Canadian GT3 Cup circuit in 2014. Mm-hmm. You raced on it from 2014 through 2017, I believe.
You've done your homework.
Yes, I have. Over 30 victories. You're the most accomplished Canadian Porsche GT3 Cup driver in the history of it.
Yeah.
And so you said you won it the first year.
I won it the first year. I won my first ever race.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be a one-off race, and then the car owner basically just said, after I won the first race, like, I can't take you out of the championship now. So they just kept me in the car for the whole year, and we won the championship. Then we ran a partial season in 2015. And then back into it full season, or actually it was a partial championship in 2016 as well, and then the full championship in 2017, and that's when we won it again. So I was still dabbling in a little bit open wheel back in 2015 and 16 at the same time, and then by 2017 it was full focus in sports car racing. And then when we won the championship there, then moved up into Pirelli World Challenge, which is now renamed SRO. All these names kind of changed, but basically it was a step up from, and again it's confusing, they called it GT3 Cup Challenge Canada, but and it was a GT3 Cup car, a Porsche GT3 Cup car. But then when I moved up into the Pirelli World Challenge Series, it progressed into a GT3 spec car. So that all the different manufacturers make GT3 spec cars, but that is a significant step up from a Porsche GT3 Cup car. So at that point, I was driving what they call a GT3R, Porsche GT3R, which is like bespoke racing, like carbon fiber body panels, all racing suspension. Like I'm sure you're aware of the car. It's basically one level below the RSR.
Yep.
So that was from then. That's still what I would have raced up until last year. Is that kind of car. So that races in the World Challenge Series. It races in the IMSA Series. So that the 24-hour race like Daytona 24 hours, Sebring 12 hours, all those kind of races. That was the car I was driving.
Incredible. Yes, I follow a couple of the guys that currently race in that series or a similar series. As you're talking your way through it, I can just really feel like the leveling up. Is there as a race car driver, do you get more nervous the higher you get, or do you just get in the car and you go and do what you do and you race?
Confidence also goes up when you progress through the ranks. So I would say the first race in each kind of level up is a bit nerve-wracking, but then you settle into it. And I mean, at the end of the day, the car that I'm driving didn't really change much from 2018 all the way to last year. They came up with new versions of it, but like in terms of speed, performance, that kind of thing, it was very similar. So I'm just plugging in and getting straight to it. There's new teams, new championships, things like that. But because the car was fairly similar, like it was just confidence and go right for it. And of course, I had a lot of early success in my career, which then kind of boosted my confidence as well. Yeah,
it's an incredible story, and I have done some research. So when I'm going through it, it's just like holy smokes! And you mentioned just kind of the speed of it, like it came together quite quick, and then you really elevated from there quite quickly thereafter.
Yeah, so getting from the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada up to World Challenge, and then from there into IMSA. That was a 3-year span from 2017 to 2019. Got to race the full season of IMSA WeatherTech Series in 2019, and then of course 2020. Everyone knows.
Yes.
2020 wasn't the best year for me. I didn't have a ride going into that year, and then with all the lockdowns and everything, traveling was tough, and I wasn't able to find a ride, and so that kind of put me, out of sight, out of mind, I think is the best term to put it. I wasn't at the racetracks, and it just sort of, I guess I kind of faded from people's line of sight. And so it wasn't until last year when I got a phone call from Andretti, actually.
Oh, wow.
And they were looking for another driver to be in part of their endurance races in the IMSA WeatherTech Series. So that was like Daytona 24, Sebring 12 hour, Indianapolis 6 hour, Petit Le Mans. And so that was really cool to just get that call out of the blue, and with obviously such a historic name in motorsports. So again, racing a Porsche, it was the first year racing the car for the team to race a Porsche, and they took it was a big difference for them because they came from prototype cars. They've been running prototype cars for years prior to this, and so they had to retool and redo all of the pit stop equipment and procedures and car maintenance, and all this stuff was new for them. So it was a learning year for sure. And it didn't go as well as I would have hoped, having, been on the sideline for a little bit. I was hoping to make a big splash and go and hopefully win some races, but it was a good learning year for the whole team. And I felt instantly comfortable in the car getting back into it after a couple of years.
It's like
off.
riding a bike, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, so this was January of last year in 2024, just getting up onto the banking of Daytona, and you're flat out for like a long time there, and you're pretty much getting up to terminal velocity in these cars. And I remember doing it for the first time, and you just get pushed down into the seat, and you feel the G-forces, like, because there's not many things that give you that experience in life, and just feeling it again for the first time after 3 years, and it was like, I just cherished that moment. I was like, that is so nice to be back in a race car and doing this again.
You remind me of something that I often think when I'm watching F1, and it sounds like it's very similar. And I don't know what it's called inside the racing scene, but like race shape. You have to be in a certain level of shape to be able to withstand that sort of G-force and pressure and length of time in what would be a hot car. How do you go about that? How do you stay in race shape? Is it called race shape?
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, sports car racing is traditionally a little bit easier than, say, your like open wheel counterparts, but it's still like, it's more heat conditioning that takes a while to get used to. So the cars are like, our car has AC, but I mean, AC is not the same as AC in a street car. It is very much just like a little bit of a cold spot on your back, and that's pretty much all you get. So you're in this for 2-3 hours. It's basically like if you can train in a sauna, that's the best way to basically prep yourself. It does help in Daytona that the temperatures drop fairly low in January at nighttime, but you know, it's still in the car. It's brutally hot. So that took a little while to get used to. But the G-forces and things like that, I still was go-karting, and go-karting, like race go-karts they pull more G's in the corners than
Really?
the cars do. Yeah,
Incredible.
They're phenomenal machines. I mean, driver and go-kart combination, you could be like 360 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's crazy light, and you know, with big wide tires on them, and you can go like 3-4 G's in a corner in a go-kart, which is like not even close. You're not doing anything close to that in a sports car.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So you know, that kind of training leading up to the event, you know, kept me sharp.
Keeps you in shape.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated with the one race that really stands out to me is the Daytona, 24-hour Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like racing in a 24-hour race? How many people are racing with you? Like, are there any kind of standout, unique things that somebody that's not overly familiar would? Yeah,
for sure. So it's the first race of the year in the IMSA series. It's also the longest race of the year. The next one is 12 hours long, and it's actually back to back. You do the 24-hour race, and then the next race is the 12 hours. So you do like half a season of racing in the first two events. but the first race of the year, Daytona, you get 4 drivers per team, and so they classify it as pro-am basically. So you get 2 pros, 2 amateurs in the car, and then you make your team of 4. And it's pretty cool because you usually get paired, especially racing for a brand like Porsche. Porsche usually provides a factory driver in the car. So
wow.
We had Thomas Prenning in the car last year, who won the DTM championship in Germany. And then obviously we had Gabby Chavez, who raced in IndyCar, and then Jared Andretti, the team owner. So the 4 of us, you know, is a pretty potent combination. And anyway, so first race of the year, and it's just long. It's insanely long. I mean, like 4 drivers, it sounds like you can take a break, but like by the time you do your 2-3 hours in the car, you get a snack, you debrief with the team, you try to get some rest, which I've never been able to do. Then you're pretty much back in the car again, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's no sleeping, or for you there's no sleeping, or
some drivers can.
Yeah.
I guess some drivers are just. I mean, I've only done the race twice now, so and it was, you know, with a 3-year gap in between, so it felt like the first time I was doing it again, and there's actually a funny story. So the team had these energy gummies that were just like kind of on a shelf, and it was like, you know, caffeine gummies, whatever, and it's 3 a.m. I'm getting in the car at 5, and I couldn't sleep, and so I'm just sitting there on the pit box watching what's going on, and I ended up grabbing a pack of these things, and I started eating them and whatever, and you know, I get through my stint, I get out of the car at 6 a.m. or so, and then the team, I was supposed to be done, but then the team asked me to get back in the car to finish the race. So now I grab another pack of these things, and I'm like, oh, I gotta stay awake. So I eat another pack of them, and I'm like buzzing at this point. And I go to Jared, the team owner, and I'm like, hey man, like, I'm surprised you can eat these things. Like, I feel really strange. And he's like, well, how many did you have? And I said, 2 packs. He's like, what do you mean 2 packs? He's like, you're supposed to have 1 gummy, and there's like 10 in each pack. No. Or it was like 6 or something like that. But I was just like absolutely wired on caffeine getting in the car. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. But
when you get in, does the adrenaline, does it just take back over for you? Like, you know, when you're sitting outside of it, sure, you go through those emotions, but when you go in, is it just game time again?
It was, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, yeah, when you're driving, you're at you're performing at that level. Like, I'm sure it wasn't good for me, but I managed to get through the race. And after the race, all the drivers are pretty much going back to their hotel and just go to sleep. And I'm like wide awake,
you're ready to go for the next day. That's an amazing story. Do you have a win that stands out to you? Do you have a favorite win, where it was, and anything kind of special that came through it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, like you mentioned, all the wins I had in Porsche Cup Canada. I think like that period of just being able to like consistently get wins was like the highlight of my career. You know, it doesn't get old, but when you stop, when you're in a period like that and then you stop winning, it really sucks, right? And you just want to get back to winning right away. So like Montreal, if I had to pick one, I mean, like probably Montreal Grand Prix for the F1 weekend, like being on the podium, you know, an hour before an F1 race.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. You know, you get the same bottle of champagne, and they play the same song that the F1 drivers
really?
get.
That's amazing. Yeah. Especially for a young guy that's grown up watching F1, and really that sounds like it's where a lot of the passion came from.
I mean, F1 is I just find it so fascinating. I mean, the technical advancements in F1 and everything, but and obviously they do a really good job of promoting it, especially lately with all the media attention it gets. But I just to be at an event at that scale, and in front of that many people, I think that's the biggest thing is when you're racing at an F1 event, you're in front of like hundreds of thousands of people, right? And it's just like, you're I would say the stands are like half full, so you're still probably racing in front of at least 100,000 people, and that's a pretty cool feeling.
So interesting, because I've watched the F1 series on Netflix. What is it like? Are you guys friends outside, competitors inside? When I say outside, I mean outside the car, inside the car, obviously, when you're racing. What's that dynamic like between drivers?
So from my experience, it was always like what team, when you're within your team. So there was several cars on the same team. So I'm friends with, I was kind of friends with my teammates. Yeah. Not like there's a few friends that I had that kind of got up to that level as well. And we were friends, but it was like, you're there to do it. You're there to do your job. And then it was like away from the racetrack, then you would catch up, and a lot of us would train together, go biking and go-karting, things like that.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for training? Is there a kind of a training regiment that you guys try to focus on? I know you are into mountain biking, living here in British Columbia, but anything else that?
Yeah, I should probably update my website because I haven't done that in a long time. But
I would. The guys here are big into mountain biking, so if you're looking for guys to ride with,
I'd love to. Yeah, honestly, I've been so focused on when I'm not at the racetrack, so focused on business lately that I haven't really had time to do a lot of my hobbies. But mountain biking is definitely one of them. But when I think back to training, it's mostly like road cycling, running, and then a little bit of just gym stuff. But it's it's because you don't want to be you're not trying to be buff or anything like that. Honestly, the best training is just driving go-karts.
Really? Just because you just get that feeling.
There's muscles that you use in racing that you don't really use anywhere else, and it's really hard to try to replicate that in a gym. So even you see F1 drivers, and they're in go-karts all the time, just to when they got busy schedules, but when they're off in their down times, like a lot of them have go-karts that you go and train in.
So interesting. You mentioned your business, which is kind of what brought us together. I mean, I've known about you for a long time, getting into Porsche in 2017. So right when you were right in your kind of heyday. But since then, you have opened a business here in Kelowna Karting. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about it. Can you share us some stories about kind of how you got into that and where it is now?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, that's a loaded question. I mean, there's so many things that kind of came together to make this happen. Specifically in Kelowna, I think like the biggest thing, the reason why it happened here is I just kind of fell in love with the Okanagan, and I came to the Okanagan mostly to do driver coaching at Area 27. So I've been a driver coach there since they opened in 2016, and then that basically brought me up from Vancouver to the Okanagan, and then I pretty much only ever go home or back home, I shouldn't say, but Vancouver, just to basically go to the airport so I can travel for racing. Yeah. I'm pretty much always in the Okanagan now, and so I fell in love with it here, and then. Racing is you travel for racing and whatnot, but if you're only doing 10 race weekends a year, there's a lot of time in between. So I'm always looking for things to do in the meantime. And so I have a go-kart racing team that travels around. Me and a friend started that back in 2019. And so we travel around going to all these races, and those are like professional racing karts. So still active in go-karting. I guess I'm kind of like drawing this all together, right? So I've got the racing background, moved up to the Okanagan. I've got the traveling racing team, and I kind of want to marry everything together into a business that I was really passionate about. Yeah. And so that's where the idea for an indoor go-kart track came from. It wasn't, there are no indoor go-kart tracks outside of the Lower Mainland in BC.
Yeah, we needed it up here for sure. It's something there's a lot of people that come up here just to travel, come up with their kids, not only the residents here. It's a place that definitely needed something higher level than the offerings that we had previous.
For sure, yeah. So it all kind of came together, but it wasn't something that, I just said, okay, I want to do this, and then I hired a contractor and made it happen. It's a team that made it happen. It was me, my fiance, and her sister, boots on the ground every day. I mean, we basically found this old warehouse. It was the Campion Marine Boat Factory, absolutely packed with just debris and dust and everything from like when it was used as a manufacturing plant. So it was the three of us in there every day, just cleaning it, painting, you name it, like stripping out all of the unnecessary equipment. I mean, even till today, I mean, we're still there every day, pretty much working on this place. It's been a big project, and I just didn't have. It's not like I had a bunch of cash just to throw down and start a business. Like we did this very shoestring, just to try to get something to Kelowna, because you mentioned it. People come here, and if you're not going to a winery or you're not going boating, like there's not a ton to do for visitors, but also locals, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah, trying to just wanted to add to the community, bring something that wasn't here, and then we're just working hard to make it happen.
So did you open? Was it June of last year? June 1st, late
right
May?
Around then,
late May. Again, I've known lots of people that have gone there. It sounds like it's an absolute hit. It's fully electric. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
What are some advantages fully electric versus maybe a gas powered car?
Well, first off, noise and pollution for sure is much better with the electric carts. And then from our standpoint, business operations standpoint, maintenance is much better as well.
Oh.
So that really made it a no-brainer, those three things. And then the performance is there. Like you're not going any slower than you would in a gas equivalent like indoor go-kart track.
Do they have more torque like a normal?
Yes, absolutely.
They do. They've got a little more torque on the start.
Yeah, for sure. Like you can do donuts if you
really
if you turn it all the way up and turn the steering wheel. Yeah, for sure. So, I wanted. My philosophy was, okay, I didn't have a huge budget to make this happen, so I'm gonna spend all of my budget on the best go-karts I can buy, right, and then build up from there. And so that's what I did. I got these carts out of the UK. They're called Biz carts, and they've been great to deal with. And I mean, phenomenal carts. Then built a track which I designed all myself. Just basically sketched the whole warehouse, planned it out. Had a friend that helped me with like put it into CAD and things like that, so that we could measure off different points. But like I was sitting there with a pen and paper drawing up different layouts. And then one of the things that was a bit of a tough, like a bit of a struggle when we were building was the concrete. It had been abused from like being used as a factory and like forklifts running over it and whatnot. So the concrete was kind of falling apart. And there was also like, it was really coarse, right? So it would just, if I didn't do anything, it would just like basically grind the tires off. So we ended up going with an epoxy that sort of like to fill all of the voids. And what that ended up doing, it did fill all the voids, but it ended up making a bit of a slippery surface as well. So when we first opened, we had a bit of a slippery surface that wasn't ideal. And also I made the track really technical because I used all my racing experience. I'm like, I'm going to make this corner as tight as possible. And then like the opening weekend, and I'm just watching, I'm like, oh my God, nobody can actually drive on this thing. Like people with no experience, like you'd probably have to slide the go-kart a little bit to get through the corners, and like people were getting stuck, and like our port marshals are running all over the place just to get people, like reverse them, help them out, get them through the corners. And so it was like maybe lasted about a week, and then we started tearing the track apart, and we had it beautifully painted. Like all the corners had curbs done and everything, and we had basically had to tear it all apart.
Wow.
Yeah. So now it's a bit. It's functional now, and that's the best part, is that we've made the track wider, made it a little bit quicker, made it easier to pass. But in doing so, also made it so like, the track goes over parts where it wasn't epoxied, because it was just
okay.
So the look is a little off, and then we also had to take a grinder to the surface to then add some texture back to the epoxy.
To give it a little bit more grip.
Yeah. So like great learning experience, but it ended up ruining the look of the place. But it is absolutely phenomenal to drive now. Like the grip is good, the flow of it's good. Everybody like raves about the how it is now. So now it's like, okay, let's start to look at ways we can improve the look again. Probably do another layer of epoxy at some point with a bit more of a texture to it. Yeah. And but walk before we run kind of thing. It's been just one step at a time, trying to make it better. And that's the main thing, is like, I didn't want to just open the doors and say, what, that's it. Like it's every single time we get feedback, whether it's about the grip of the cart, or the speed of the carts. We've adjusted the speed to make sure that people are getting an experience that they want, something that's fast enough for everybody, but also not too fast that it's dangerous,
yes,
right?
Of course, especially with a bunch of amateurs.
Exactly, yeah. So we have like different speed modes that can really tailor to different age groups. If it's your first time in a go-kart and you're 12 years, or if they're 7 years old or 5 years old or whatever, we have junior karts for those drivers, and then we have the adult karts which go from 12 years old and up.
Really?
But we can tailor the speeds to the different age groups, right? And so making sure that we have that all set in a way that everyone gets a good experience but also stays safe has been really, really a key point.
So what is the age limit or restriction to come and take part in it?
Yeah, so right now officially on the website, 7 years old and 4 feet tall is for the junior karts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for the adult karts, 12 years old and 4'9".
So I would imagine that you cater to birthday parties. I know corporately we've done some things here with Porsche Center Kelowna. Mm-hmm. Do you guys book out a lot for the corporate types of things or birthdays? Is that a big source of business for you?
It is, and like more so in Christmas time for a lot of corporate events. We're basically our whole November, December was just packed full of those, and then birthday parties are year round, obviously, and we get several a week. So that's I think people have really started to see that it's not just a go-kart track. Like we have a party room. I just added a VR section as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's called Zero Latency VR, and it's 6-person multiplayer VR arena. So you basically get your headset and a gun, and you're like running around in this like 2,000 square foot arena. So that just opened up a couple weeks ago, and then we've also got axe throwing now.
Wow.
So yeah, it's like adding all these activities to make sure like it's fun for everybody.
It's incredible. I obviously was drawn to your story of Porsche racing, but I just love the story on what you've done, not only like in the community, but for our community, and married your two passions together. You did mention when we were talking earlier that you're hopeful to get back into the racing scene. Currently don't have a car. Are you hopeful to maybe see something pop up this year? Is there a plan back into it?
Yeah. So just to give you a little context of how it works. So there's like different driver ratings in sports car racing. So there's like platinum, which would be the factory drivers. There's gold, silver, and bronze, right? And so every team has to have a mix of these different type of driver ratings. And when I first got into the IMSA series, I was rated as a gold driver, which is technically like a pro, which was accurate at the time. And then what ended up happening is because I was out of the car for 3 years, you're now competing for those seats the same as any of the other pro drivers that are currently active in the sport. So it's advantageous then to become what they call like a silver driver. And so that's what I applied to do. I got my silver rating, which actually kind of opened this door for me to race with Andretti last year. And so that sort of like now opened some doors to then get back into it. And then of course, if things go well, I'll get bumped back up to as a pro, like classified pro. But it basically opens the door for more racing, to more potential teams.
Opportunities.
Exactly. And so I'm constantly out there just promoting myself as being like a fast silver, somebody that was formerly a pro, or a gold rated driver, and that just basically it makes it more attractive to teams. So hopefully that basically something will pop up. My phone, it could be as simple as my phone rings and I'm back in a car next week.
Is that right? It's incredible. I hope so, because now I'm going to be invested. I'm going to want to watch. I'm going to be following everything that you do. Thank you so much for coming on with me. It was really fun to sit down. Just an incredible story for me personally, just to hear how you came from being a 13-year-old young man, went through it, and now how you've made it a business that's a really positive impact in our community. But I'm sure that you're a pretty cool person for some of the younger generation to come in and meet in person. Like I said to you earlier, I was quite excited to do this and sit down with you. So thank you so much for sitting down with us. I really appreciate it. It was a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's been an honor to kind of grow as a part of this community here in Kelowna. So I'm just really excited for the future. And all things Porsche, all things racing. I love it.
Sounds great. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Inside the Dream. If you like what you've seen, please share and like and subscribe for future episodes.